Hey everyone, it's Shirt of ChromaGlitch, and today I'm giving you some tips and tricks to survive your first winter of life and land. This guide is aimed towards optimizing your settlement, but you can still use some of the tips if you aren't playing with optimization as the goal. Before you fully jump into the game, you should familiarize yourself with the region map and controls. Take a minute to pause the game and see what's located where on your map. Then, plan out your roads. I recommend using the first day to build most of your starting roads to help plan your settlement layout. You can find a level 1 mud street in the community streets and services section of the build menu. You can also click on the road tool next to the build menu icon. Roads are important because they reduce travel time for your villagers when going from one area to the next. As you add buildings, villagers will prioritize other work over road construction, so it's good to get this step out of the way first. You're going to want to prioritize shelter and fire next. Try to pick an area on the map that's close to the starting supply crates and place the straw huts around a campfire. This helped me a lot during the winter, and I noticed my villagers didn't complain about the cold as much or drop like flies. You'll also want to keep the gatherer shack close to this area. I'll get into the shack more in the next tip. But first you'll want to place 2 forester stumps and 2 stonemasons, with one of each being close to the camp and the others further away. Winter in Of Life and Land is brutal, and your villagers can die from exposure while traveling to their workstations. This is why you'll want to have 2 sets of these stations, so in the winter you can disable the use of the ones further out to keep everyone close to camp. During the first few days of spring, you'll want to focus on shelter. Make sure you add a few extra straw houses while you're at it. These come in handy as your villagers welcome new members between late summer and early winter. The goal is to prevent new villagers from freezing to death immediately, so they can help you expand the settlement. Once you have your community center built in the winter, you will unlock the ability to accept move-in requests from other potential settlers. The more extra beds you have, the more new settlers you can add at a time. This is why a centralized infrastructure plan becomes important as well, because straw shelters aren't the best, and if the houses aren't close to the campfires, villagers will still freeze to death in the winter. This one is probably obvious, but in case it's not, pay attention to where you place buildings. Where you place your first forester's log and stonemason bench can set you up for a lot of success or failure. You should try to maximize the number of available resources within these buildings' range. Don't be afraid to hover over things like quarries to see how much stone each one has, and try to place a stonemason on at least 2 quarries. The gatherer's hut is another building you should plan out carefully. I recommend keeping your first year hut close to the shelter so villagers don't travel far to get food and water. Place a section of wheat and a section of garden soil within the hut range. You can hover over the main building and see the range once it's been placed. Don't make a giant farm. It adds a lot more work and you don't have the storage space needed early in the game. Some workstations can collect multiple types of resources that your settlement will need to function and grow. You should make sure you're checking how many resources you have and need to get other tasks done. Adjust the priority of each item to help speed up production of needed building material. You can also use the priority adjustments to help you organize your space when you unlock bigger buildings. You can still place the building and set it to the lowest priority setting so villagers will occasionally drop off the materials, and you can better visualize where other things will go. Your first year in Of Life and Land will require a lot of grass for buildings and crafting rags to survive during the winter. Set gathering grass to the highest priority on the gatherer's hut. Don't build fences. This may seem counterproductive when animals are constantly stealing from your supplies, however this can be used to your advantage. Wheat attracts animals such as sheep and cows. You'll need sheep and cows close enough to your settlement when you place a barn to tame these animals for resources. If you immediately fence off your farm plots, these animals won't be able to steal wheat from you, so they won't have a reason to get close enough to tame quickly. Other animals like rats, rabbits, and raccoons will also come closer to your settlement to steal food. Bear with it because these will be animals you can eventually hunt for meat and animal hides to make clothing with. Animals become crucial to surviving in the winter, so save fences for later. Whether you play with the game set to normal speed or 100 times speed, you'll benefit from pausing it. It's so much easier adjusting, building priorities, and checking on supplies and villager needs when the game isn't moving, so don't be afraid to hit pause. With the tailor stations, you have the options to craft rags from grass or wool. In year 1, you should pause production on rags made with wool and only use grass instead. Wool is also a required component for crafting clothing, which is needed during the winter. If you leave both options on, especially if you don't adjust the priority slots, you'll end up with a lot of rags and not enough clothes. This can cause you to lose an entire village in a few days, speaking from experience. It may also seem like there isn't enough grass during the winter, but your farm plots will still produce a very minimal amount. Once you have built a hunting lodge, you can also enable the option to craft clothing from animal hide. If you manage your time and resources well, you can have the community center up and running before the end of your first year in Of Life and Land. The community center can become the MVP during the final stretch of winter when the temperature is very low. If you notice villagers are beginning to get sick, use the community center to cancel all work the next day. This will allow villagers to spend the day staying near the campfire and eating to rebuild their strength. You'll also have the ability to accept move-in requests from potential settlers. If you do lose a few of your original villagers, you'll at least be able to gain more workers to replace them. And those are the tips. Again, these are things I found helped me while playing through the first year. If you found this video helpful, be sure to leave a like and share it. If you found another way to optimize your year 1 farm, leave a comment down below so I can try it out.